Om Jananam Bhagyam Babaji. Om Sangam Amritam Babaji. Om Yogam Siddham Babaji. Om Dhanam Punyam Babaji. Om Sharanam Vilayam Babaji. Om Swaranam Swargam Babaji.
Namaste. Hope all are fine. On the same subject of life before birth, there are some doubts arising in the minds of viewers. Understanding needs to be very clear before we proceed further. The prana enters the human body, or the prana enters the just born child, as a result of which the child starts activating itself. This is the understanding. If that is so, then the mute question which some members ask is, how does the child survive in the mother's womb? This is a very, very valid question. Many of the mothers would be knowing it. We must know that in order to attain the birth status, once the child is removed from the mother's womb, or the child comes out of the mother's womb, immediately the umbilical cord is disconnected. It is that umbilical cord which is the life force, or which gives life force to the unborn child. In many of the Mahavishnu's photos, a long lotus stem is going up from the Nabi of Mahavishnu, where at the top Brahma can be seen. The life protecting for an unborn child is therefore the umbilical cord. Without an umbilical cord, a child cannot get any nutrition, any growth, any intelligence, any formation as a child without the umbilical cord. So the child is connected to the mother. That is a very, very valid reason why mother is more supreme than any temple. Mother is more supreme than any gods. This is the reason. Because the child is protected by the mother through the umbilical cord in the womb, which we need to understand. Once the child is disconnected from the God, that is the mother, the child slightly detaches from the super soul. Then what is super soul? Is not the mother for that child becoming super soul? Do we need to see another super soul? Do we expect another super soul to come in front of us and say that I am the super soul? I am detaching from the child? No. These are the very intriguing facts which we need to understand from the point of seeking spiritual upliftment. Now the child gets detached from the mother's womb, and the child again detaches itself through a process from the umbilical cord. Simultaneously, the prana enters, and as a result of the prana, the child becomes slightly independent for the time being. This point is very clear to all.
Guruve Saranam, Guruve Saranam, Guruve Saranam, Guruve Saranam.
Now, one more point we can ponder over and discuss. When in Mahabharata war, it is described the strategies of Chakravyuga fort, or the fortifying strategies of Padma Yuga, Chakravyuga, was known only to a handful of divinities. Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna's son Pradyumna, Arjuna, and Abhimanyu. It is also said that Abhimanyu also learned this strategy during a travel where Subhadra is coming back to her parents' house. At that time, Subhadra was carrying Abhimanyu. The Chakravyuga strategies were discussed by Sri Krishna with Arjuna or Subhadra. The child Abhimanyu understands when he was in the pregnancy. How it is possible? It was possible because at that time the child was attached to the super soul, the mother, the Subhadra. But once Abhimanyu is born as Abhimanyu, he forgets that. He gets connected by training by Arjuna. Most of the strategies Abhimanyu understands through mother, and physical strategies he understands through his father Arjuna. This apart, another question rises. If the self and the soul are one and the same, how can the self realize the soul? Another member has posed a very valid question. The soul, the Atman, is not dying at all. The Atman is waiting somewhere, and on birth of a child, as soul it enters that particular human body or animal body, depending upon its previous karmas. Earlier we have discussed that for the food to get assimilated in the human body of a male and female, and in order to convert that food into a semen, it takes at least 22 days. When it becomes semen and enters the female's womb, then the child starts growing from there. When this happens, the child needs food. There is cultivation going on elsewhere. A farmer procures seeds, cultures his field, and he starts seeding the food grains. It starts sprouting, and the food which he has grown is marketed here and there and reaches the right person for whom the food has been ordained. Then it comes to the mother. The mother consumes the food. As a result of mother's consumption, through the umbilical cord, the child grows by taking their nourishment. The food which has been grown for that particular soul, which is yet to come out, continues in this process. When the child comes out, the Atman which is ordained to enter a particular body based on the karma, the previous birth of the soul had happened, that Atman will be waiting here and there. When at that right moment, when the constellations are in its own right formation, will the child take birth. When the child takes birth, the soul is there, the Atman enters there, and in combination of the body, the soul, the self, the Atman grows together. Once this is happening, simultaneously the child gets detached from the supreme soul of the mother, and that supreme soul, what we call for the time being, for that child, for that microcosm, is mother. From that macrocosm, the microcosm, child comes out, slightly detaches from the mother, and the child starts nourishment by getting life, vital force from nowhere. Now, from astrological point of view also, the future of the child, the age of the child, the ayush of the child, the health of the child, any ills in the birth of the child that could affect the parents, all those such studies are done from the lagna. The child is always attached to the mother till it becomes completely independent, at least when it becomes 8 year or 9 year. Till such time, the child's case will be studied from the Lagna. Once the child becomes independent, then the Lagna will be shifted from the Lagna of the moon's position of the birth date. That is the reason whenever we go to the temple, they also ask what is the Lagna, what is the Rashi, and what is the Nakshatra. Nakshatra indicate in which Rashi the moon is posited at the time of birth. The Lagna is indicated when the rising of the sun, in which Rashi it happens for that moment. The Lagna will change once in 2 hours approximately, whereas the change of Rashi or change of moon sign will happen once in 2+ days. Hope the matter is little more clear. So, once the child becomes little away from the Supreme Soul, then it has to realize, it has to know where from it has come. Physically, it identifies itself with the mother because the mother is taking care of all its needs. The mother is close to he or she. As a result of physical proximity, the child knows it. But for that, the child may not know it also. So now, for a microcosm, a nucleus family of father, mother and child, the child identifies mother, father, but child has come from nowhere, from the Supreme Soul. That Supreme Soul the child has to identify. That part of the life is led by spiritual knowledge and not from any other knowledge. One has to realize that because the birth happens individually, the birth happens individually through a single mother, a single umbilical cord, a single Atman, a single soul is created, single prana, the vital force enters a single body. The soul has to achieve the self-realization through individual journey only and not collective journey. The prarthana, kirtana, prayer, puja, bhajans, etc. can be done in groups, but realization of the self has to happen only individually in solo. Okay? There is another member who is asking a particular question. I will read out that question. I recall that some bits about the soul's experience when it is in the mother's womb, how it misses God and weeps on being separated from the Supreme Mother and Father. We can have clarification on this point through Abhimanyu's reality and Abhimanyu's experience, or what we have understood from the Mahabharata episode, where Abhimanyu gets gather the knowledge on Chakravyuga or Padmavyuga strategy. Okay? Now in our next video, we will discuss the life that is sandwiched between the birth and the death, or between the appearance and disappearance of the human body or any other body. Till such time, Om Sadguru Babaji Namaha. Om Sadguru Babaji Namaha. Om Sadguru Babaji Namaha.